Good evening, troops. Welcome to the Action Elite. My name is Owen. It's Friday night and it's a long weekend. How are you all doing?
It's a long weekend.
Good.
Weekend. It was a long weekend. It's a long weekend.
It is here, yeah, in Canada.
Yeah, for us.
So that's awesome. So we can expect lots of drink to be had. So yeah, we've got a full squad here tonight. So you got me, we got John Gerber from Action Flicks, we got J-Man, we got Stephen, and for the first time as part of the group, we got Jeff from Action Reloaded. How are you doing?
Hey guys, how are you? Glad to be a part of the full team this time around.
Yeah, you're now expendable.
No, keep adding people. It's going to be like...
I know. Now, before we start this, today is the legend Arnold Schwarzenegger's birthday. He is 74, so I thought, what better way than to cover one of his most recent series of movies, The Expendables. So happy birthday, Arnie. And it's also... it's also Frank Stallone's birthday, and he provided a song to Expendables 2. So, and I interviewed Frank Stallone a few months ago, and he was awesome. So, happy birthday, Frank! And also, before we start, has anybody else apart from me watched The Last Mercenary today?
Not
the
yet.
new Van Damme movie. Yeah, it sucked.
Well, I'm ordering it anyways because I own every Van Damme, like literally that entire shelf is Van Damme, so I'm ordering it no matter what.
Yeah. So, it was very disappointing.
Reviewed it, so I thought, everyone else had got to it, so I thought I'd just skip this one.
Mm-hmm. I think you're probably very wise because, I mean, even from the trailers, you could tell it had this sort of farcical tone. And then whenever I watched it, there's lots of slapstick comedy and things like that. And I was like, nah, it doesn't really work. And then there's not very much action in like the first half. It's actually kind of boring, and his son's annoying. So yeah, I didn't love it. And Van Damme is good at comedy, and he's good in the movie. He's the best thing about it, but it just wasn't really my bag, baby. I'm afraid.
Was it? It's a Netflix original, or
yeah, it's on Netflix. Yeah,
it's a Netflix. Yeah,
yeah. And it's just under 2 hours long. Yeah, mostly miss. But anyway. So let's move on to The Expendables, which was the first time. Who isn't really? You got Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jason Statham, Terry Crews, Jet Li, Dolph Lundgren,
Gary Daniels,
Eric Roberts, Gary Daniels. Yeah, so it's a full squad, and there are two different versions of it. Has everybody seen the director's cut?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
I only watched the director's cut from now, and I haven't watched the original.
Yeah,
like I don't even know when. So.
Yeah, agreed. The director's cut is so much better. It just gives us some more character moments, like even finding out that Hail Caesar, Terry Crews, actually has a family. He has like little girls and everything, which is never mentioned otherwise. And it just gives that extra little bit of depth. And you get that awesome song by Sully Erna, The Sinner's Prayer, over the opening credits. Cool sort of moody sort of rock song.
My favorite part is they played Diamond Eyes at the end during the last action scene, because that's what when I went to see it in the movie theater, I was fucking pissed that they didn't do that. I'm like, why are they not playing this song in this goddamn movie? Then he came out the director's cut. As soon as that song came out, when the building went down, I was like, yeah,
that was so much better. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jeff, as you're new and putting you in the spot in front of the entire world, no pressure. So what are your thoughts on The Expendables, theatrical or extended?
The theatrical, at the time of seeing the theatrical in the cinema, I was coming out, throwing kicks, punches, wrestling everyone I walked by because I was fucking buzzing. And then I seen the director's cut, and it was a Stallone movie. Like, the bit at the beginning, you had More Gunner for a start, and it builds on his character and his backstory, which it's a central part of the fucking plot, and they cut it out. And then in the theatrical, they had that stupid bit with the text message coming through, and it felt forced, whereas in the director's cut, they've moved the text message bit out. I'm getting a text. That wasn't needed. There's just loads of bits in there that in the director's cut that made it so badass. The extended scene is slightly extended by a few seconds of Lacey and Christmas, and that first interaction made everything with them more full. So it was more Stallone. You got your action, you've got your drama, you got the moody lighting. It was full out Stallone. it works so much better.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. But also, and also, I'm just going to say why this entry is my favorite in the franchise, like by a mile, is Dolph gets plenty to do in this one. I find Dolph and Jet Li are sort of sidelined in the second and third movies when they had such pivotal roles in this first one, and then they're basically nothing. Like Dolph was basically comic relief in the second one. Like I hated that scene whenever he sets up the explosive and then it doesn't work. And it's just this excuse to make him look like an idiot. And I was like, yeah, but you've just established that he's really smart, and then it doesn't work, so he's not. So you just made him look like an ass. But anyway, that's the second movie. So Stephen, your thoughts on Expendables?
I mean, it was awesome, man. It was an event picture. J-Man will probably talk about this more, but like I think when we went and saw it in the theater, like we took up a row. Like it was a row of us. Like we were buzzing, like Jeff said, and like it was amazing. Like that scene where they're on the bridge and he's in the plane and they shoot it up and then the flamethrower. I mean, we were like, yeah, like it was awesome, man. Like just seeing all these action guys in one place, like in one movie. It was like it's a Mad World Action Edition. Right? It was so awesome. It is my favorite too. It has a great flow to it, I find. And the gunner part, like when they sort of tease that Dolph's, a villain, and I'm like, oh man, I don't want Dolph to be a villain, but then it's like he's really, working. I'm like, oh, that's awesome, man. I love the fact that they did both. My only criticism of the movie really is that Eric Roberts just isn't a good physical one-on-one combatant. Like Steve Austin. That whole thing with him and Randy Couture, that was awesome at the end. And Steve Austin really was magnified as a threat, more of a threat than Eric Roberts, really. And Eric Roberts was just like, he was just like the
suit with a gun,
mustache twirling villain. I'm like, all right. Yeah. I mean, this guy was in best of the best. I don't know why he couldn't have done more, but like whatever. Like I think Ben Kingsley was the original main villain, I think, and then he got replaced by Eric Roberts, which I'm like, Ben Kingsley really
he's an action guy.
Scream action to me, but okay. Like it was just like that was the only thing I'm like, because at the end you're like, well, how is Eric Roberts going to fight Stallone? Like which is it's not going to happen, so it's kind of like but there were so many good parts in it, and so many like just awesome moments, even at the beginning when it's just the five of them, and I think it's five of them. Yeah, six of them. And like, they're there and doing their thing. And I'm like, this is awesome, man. Like, it's just awesome to see everyone together doing things. I never thought with the egos, we know the egos behind the scenes with the action, like stars, to see them all in a picture is a real treat, right? Like Jet Li's here, like with Stallone, with Statham, like with Lundgren, that's awesome. Cruz and Couture, I'm like, I know Couture was an MMA guy, but I'm like, why is he in this? But okay. Cruz, I knew more from like, he was the president in Idiocracy. That's where I knew him from.
Yep, same.
So I don't know why he's there. Like, I'm sure you're going to talk about guys who we wish should have been in the franchise. I'm sure that will be a topic later on. But,
that will be later, yeah.
It was an awesome film. It was one of my first Blu-ray purchases. It's definitely one of the best action films of that era to me. So
agreed. Yeah. I mean, it has all of my favorite scenes from the franchise are in this movie. Like the harbor bombing scene, I love, and anytime they do it, and it's funny. It's like both Statham and Stallone are basically the audience whenever the harbor blows up, and they both go yeah, and the whole audience go yeah. We're all just like cheering along with it. But then my favorite fight scene of the entire series is actually Lee Christmas going up and fucking up the guy at the basketball court.
Yeah,
I'll deflate all your balls, friend. It's so satisfying because the guy's a piece of shit woman beater. You don't hit women, so do whatever needs to be done to this guy, and nobody's going to feel bad. Those are my two favorite moments. But the other thing was, which before I forget, was this is the only thing I didn't really like about the extended edition is that Lee Christmas is more of a whiner in this version, and he spends too much time going on about Stacey all the time. And you're like, shut up, be a man, move on. Yeah. So But yeah. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. John, what do you think?
Well, I told you like before the show started, this is my favorite Man on a Mission movie, bar none. I mean, when they were announcing it, like all the people that were going to be starring it, like at first it was Stallone, Statham, and Jet Li, and then they started it. Then Dolph Lundgren came on board and everything. I was getting all excited and everything. And when I went to see, I saw it on opening night. I saw all 3 movies on opening night, as a matter of fact. Yeah. I mean, that never happens with me anymore with my lifestyle, but I got to see. And I freaking wanted to go right back in the goddamn movie theater and just go watch it again. Because, like I said, there were people like that complained to me about it because their expectations were like so high with it. It's like, if you do that, well, yeah, then you're going to be like, oh, this movie sucked. But it's like, you got to go in knowing what it is. It's like, and it was just a big homage to the movies we grew up with. I mean, was there some CGI blood? Yeah, that was kind of like, suspect. I was like, oh, where's the squids? But other than that, and we're going over favorite moments. My favorite moment, well, I got 2. In the regular version, it's not my favorite, but in the director's cut, I'll explain. But the underground tunnel fight towards the end, before the big shootout, that's my favorite scene out of the whole series because you got everything going on in that scene. You got Stallone fighting Stone Cold Steve Austin. You got Jet Li fighting Gary Daniels. Then Statham joins in. You got Jet Li, Statham fighting Gary Daniels. I was like, oh my fucking God. I was like, what am I watching right now? And then the best part is when Statham gets Daniels, he takes his arm and rips it, and then Jet Li comes down with the leg and breaks his neck. I was like, yeah! And I'm like, that was like the best part ever. I love. And then you got Statham slicing people with the knife, and then he shoots the guy in the knee, and then shoots him in the head. I'm like, this is the best freaking movie I've ever seen in my life. I'm like, I just gotta say it is. And then my second favorite is the end, because we were talking before the show started. Because in the theatrical cut, not to take away from Brian Tyler's music, but they played Diamond Eyes at the end of the final shootout, and that's what I wanted when I went to see it in the theater, and he put it in there in the director's cut, and that just made that whole scene just like, I fucking love it. I love it all.
But Brian Tyler's music is awesome, though. I love the score to all 3. It's just got just like some slightly somber but like manly music, and it's just sort of it just symbolizes these guys who are not really needed in the world anymore, and they're finding themselves less relevant, which is kind of like us in the action genre, really, the old school guys. But also one of the other favorite scenes is Oh Maya Kaboom, when Terry Crews appears at the end and just starts blowing the guys away, and they're just like blown to pieces.
Yeah, that's the end of that scene. Yeah, because it turns into a shootout, and then all of a sudden you see guys getting vaporized, and I'm like, oh my God, that's the best machine gun ever. Oh, it's a shotgun. It's an automatic shotgun, but yeah.
Yeah, it was so good.
Then as well, in the director's cut, where you get like a look at Terry Crews, Randy Couture, and Jet Li just sort of leaving the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
That was a perfect shot. It's perfect.
See, why wasn't that in the original? I mean, I got pacing and stuff like that, but like it's little things like that just because like in the theatrical cut, it just cut back to him talking to the girl. It's like, but here it's like it showed the effects of them because they look beat down at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Walking, so it's like, yeah, that was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. So Jay, over to you.
Well, as Steve said, I mean, this is one of these ones where we got people to come back to the theater because Steve and I are and Sean, we're going every Friday to every movie. I saw 54 movies in the theater one year or something like that. So it's like it's one a week plus. And there's a few of my buddies who used to go with me all the time, and they were kind of like, yeah, I don't want to go anymore. It's irritating and da-da-da. And then this gets announced, and this was almost like, like a dream come true, which just it seems impossible. And as the series goes on, they add more guys, and it just seems even more crazy as it goes. And we're like, look, you have to go to the theater. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't miss this one. And we actually ended up getting almost everybody I knew in the time period of what this was a homage to. So it was like and Steve and Sean were new, but all my old buddies, we all came out, and there must have been, I'm trying to think just in numbers, there's at least 8 of us, if not 9. Like, it was crazy. And And I think that the people who are kind of not into this movie, like I loved it, theatrical, extended, whatever. Like I love the movie, but I think like people who were kind of like not great on it or thought it was mixed didn't understand that. Yeah, maybe it's paying homage to this time period of movies where maybe the movies weren't perfect if you're going to scrutinize plot or story, but that's not what they were always about. It was about celebrating like, larger than life characters, having great big action moments, being exhilarated. You go to the theater, you pay your money, you sit down, eat your popcorn, and you came out of the theater. And just as Jeff was saying, you came out and you're like, whoa, like, I want to start punching. And I'm like, yeah, I'm jacked up. I'm ready to do something. And as opposed to walking out and being all somber and be like, oh, that was a great film. Or even like, wow, that was an interesting film. I liked the character development and all this. It's like, look, this is the point of the Expendables, the movie is the point is to get all these guys together to go on missions or, and that is the point of it. And that's why even Expendable, he's saying it because these guys now are kind of expendable. Well, Jason Statham's the new guy. I think Stallone did a good job where he represented the old guys and Statham was representing the new guys, and having those guys all kind of team up together, which will make more sense as the series goes on and they even take it slightly to the extreme in part 3, which we'll get to. But yeah, like that's the point of this movie. And there's so many people saying, well, this scene was great. This scene was great. And you're going to find somebody who thinks a scene from that movie is their favorite scene. And it'll be a different scene for everybody you talk to, depending on which person you like as an actor or action star, versus like, I always want to see this guy fight this guy. And then this guy teams up to fight that guy. And then this guy fights. That's the whole point of this. And that's the celebration of it. So I think like us guys got it. Like there was almost going to be zero chance of me not liking this movie. Like this movie would have had to have been utter garbage for me to like, even if there was like 3 less action scenes and the movie was like 80 minutes, I'd still be like, this is like the best movie ever. Like, it's like when you get to like Friday the 13th part 6, like the person who's sitting in the theater to watch this is automatically going to love it. Right? Like if you bought your ticket for Expendables, you've already reviewed it. You've already said it was 10 out of 10. That's it. Like my wife didn't go see Expendables because she doesn't care. So this is a movie that you got what you wanted. Finally, it wasn't a bait and switch like we know what Kevin Smith did. It wasn't like one of these weird. It wasn't one of these weird things. It was the movie you got is the movie you wanted and what you watched and you loved it. Director's cut adds to it. Sure, I don't remember the theatrical. Like, I only watched the director's cut because like I don't usually when I upgrade a movie I never go back to the old one, so I don't remember really anything. Like you guys are saying all these differences. I didn't even realize some of that stuff wasn't even in the theater because I don't even remember it. To be honest, like that theater movie is gone from my memory. But I love it. It's
funny just how different it is, though. I mean, whenever you sort of go through it, I mean, practically every scene has something different in it, and it's the one that is the most different. It's like I know there's the unrated cut of the third movie, but that was just sort of a few things added here and there. But this really added to it, and for once it's a director's cut that really is the definitive version of the film, and it's genuinely a much better movie.
Well, it's great that you're able to do that, right? Like so they can pare it down for time or whatever for the theater, and then they know that everyone watching that movie is going to buy this movie, right? So they're may as well give you the extended Expendables. Expendables or something. I was trying to get the 2 words together. Anyways, whatever. But yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. I actually miss Steve Austin from action movies. I haven't seen him in anything for a few years, and he was a good action star, like Hunt to Kill and stuff. He's some good stuff, and he had an intimidating presence. Like I love his character's called Pain in this. That's his name. It's like there's nothing subtle about that. What's your name? Pain.
Hey, that's his birth name, right? He came out of the womb. They're like, let's call him Pain.
That's what he calls me for 9 months.
Like he's going to be an action villain. Like, why would you name him that? Like,
yeah. But I mean, and that was the thing which the Expendables got, which Stallone got with the movies. That the characters all have ridiculous names like Lee Christmas and Barney Ross and whatever, because that's what the old action heroes do. It's supposed to have like ludicrous names, and like even me, like a while back, I would be like, well, maybe the script could have been better or whatever else. And I was like, yeah, if you go back and you watch any of these old action movies, it's not about the script or whatever else. I mean, they were mostly badly acted with bad dialogue or whatever, but that's the fun of them. You're just there to escape from reality and watch shit blow up for 90 minutes, and that's exactly what the Expendables movies do. And I also just want to mention that Gary Daniels' Fu Manchu mustache should have got a spin-off. I thought that was definitely one of the highlights of it.
I want to point out something too that isn't said a lot. There's a certain level of like sophistication in simplicity and knowing what an audience wants and giving it to them. That art has been completely lost in the last 10 years because everything that comes out is divisive. It's like, oh, we're bringing back this property. Half the population hates it, half of it like it. And what the hell happened to everyone's on board? You know, like, it's like this series has a target audience and it aims at that audience and it more often than not hits the mark of that audience. This is an art form now because today every movie is trying to be everything to everybody all at once. And then it ends up being nothing to nobody or to anybody because it's like you're watching it and you're like, okay, well, this was okay. And then you just move on with your life. Expendables, yeah, okay. People say it's a cheesy action movie. If you say that, it's not for you, so don't watch it, and that's fine. I don't think it matters. Like, I don't think target audience is a bad word, which they seem to think it is nowadays. Where it's like, oh, no, this won't appeal to X, Y, and Z people, so we have to change it and insert things in order for it to appeal to these people. But you're not going to get my wife to watch Expendables no matter what you put in it, right? And she doesn't like romantic comedy. She hates that stuff, but she doesn't like gritty action, right? She wants like, you know, more of like a sci-fi weird story or something. Like she likes Time Cop, right? That, you know, but like, exactly. Yeah. But that, she, you know, Total Recall, Time Cop, Terminator, there has to be a little bit more of a story for her. But yeah, like Expendables, you're just not going to get some people to watch it. And it's okay. It's okay that they're not going to watch it. You can make the movie for me. You can make it for us here to enjoy. And we're going to buy it. We're going to buy the stupid headbands. We're going to buy the stupid extended edition. And then we're going to buy the 4K extended super pack or, you know, like the posters. So that's the target audience. And
then 11 years after it come out, we're going to be doing live streams still talking about it.
We're still talking about this movie. It's like, get over it. We can't get over it.
The other
but
thing
there was always a sure thing the Expendables was going to be a hit because you had like 2006 Stallone made Rocky Balboa and you could see he could still play Rocky. Then 2008 he said, you know what, fuck it, Rambo's back. Then he said 2010, you know what, fuck it, I'm starting a new franchise and I'm going to bring everyone along. And he fucking did. He brought everyone along and then he was like, do you know what, fuck it, Bruce and Arnold, let's do a scene in the church together. It was Stallone. Stallone was on fire. He brought Rocky back and everyone loved it and everyone doubted him. He brought Rambo back. Everyone was like, is Rambo too old? And Rambo had a 7-minute rampage by himself on a big fucking machine gun. Then he was like, you know what? I'm going to unite every action star on the planet into my movie, which he put blood, sweat, and tears into. Like, the amount of injuries he suffered through making
he broke his neck. He broke his neck up. Yeah.
The man is a machine. So if he's writing, directing, and starring, you automatically know, fuck it, my ticket's there. It's going to be a hit.
Yeah. What were you about to say there, John?
Oh, I was just going to, what J-Man was talking about, you know, about the movie, making the movie for the people who want to watch it. That it's what pissed me, because I wasn't doing my website at the time, because I've only been doing it for 6 years, but I tell you what, if I was doing it back then, I would have shredded these freaking critics apart because, like, I would read them, like, and he'd be like the one guy called it the geriatric squad. I'm like, fuck you, you know, it's like, and you get paid to do this. It's like, you know, I remember getting so mad, and I just couldn't. Like I said, I can't even talk about it because that's how mad I got because it's like, you know, and it's like all the review, you know, because if you go on Voodoo, because, you know, I have the digital copies, of course, too, because that's how I am. But I have the physical, I have the digital, and I got all. But you know, it's got like a 40-something% rating, and it's like then you read they have the reviews, like the positive ones and then the negative ones, and then everybody's like, oh, there's no plot. I'm like, you know what? Go to hell. I'm like, that's not what we're talking about here. It's like this movie wasn't made for you, but yet you got paid to watch it and review it, and you tank the freaking rating because you're a freaking douchebag.
Yeah,
It's like,
That's what happens anytime I go to a press screening, and why I generally don't even go anymore, because you get the critic douchebags there. I remember when I went to see, I think it was Angel Has Fallen, and there was a guy there, and I was sitting and I was biting down on my knuckles because I wanted to kick the guy's fucking teeth in. I was just like so mad. But he was like, what was it? Yeah, he's like, oh, I'm just waiting for a geostorm to show up. I was like, your fucking face. And he just thought he was being funny, and I was like, "You're a tit."
To John's point, and that is that, and part of the reason why I've always said if I was in charge of the next, war, I would send all the film critics to the front line minus weapons to defend themselves with. Is they get paid to do this? They have no passion for it. The people who are passionate do it for free. Unfortunately, they often do it for free, right? And but those are the people who are passionate about it. If you're getting paid to do it, it's just a job for you. I can't take your advice. I can't take what you say because you don't care. You're just like, these guys are the assholes we all went to film school with. They're in this, the back row, and they're like, every time something happens in an awesome movie, they're like, hee, and you're like, really? I'm going to murder you. I'm going to do what, I'm going to do what the Punisher movie to you.
Heads and vices.
Fire hydrant,
Well, it's abysmal because they're not actually reviewing anything either, too. It's like if I'm watching a film, I put my mindset in the time of that movie, the point of the movie, and compare it to movies of its kind. I don't take Army of Darkness, which is in my top 10, and put it up against 12 Angry Men, which is a black and white classic film. They're both in my top 10. So is 2001: A Space Odyssey. So is Conan. So these movies have nothing to do with each other. I don't rate them that way. I'm looking at 2001: A Space Odyssey and saying, wow, this is the evolution of mankind. How do I rate this film? And it's a bit of a cerebral thing. It's like I look at Army of Darkness and say, this is a fun movie. They don't review it that way. They're just like, oh, the plot. It's like, but how important is plot in this story structure? Like, how important is plot in a Friday the 13th film where the point of it is for Jason to kill off these annoying people? And it's valid. It's a valid form of art. It's a valid form of entertainment, and it's still making a statement as well. Plus, it's giving us something to enjoy. Like, Christ, get over yourself. Citizen Kane's a great movie. It's not the only movie.
Yeah. No heads explode in it. So sorry.
I love that. It was a great movie, though.
Does anybody remember the trailer to The Expendables? And this is a line that's not in the movie. And I always remember, and Statham says, in the next 10 seconds, you won't believe what's going to happen. And I was like, what? What's going to happen? What are you going to do? That sounds awesome.
Wait 10 seconds and you're going to hear.
I know. Only 10 seconds. Add it back in. So that was annoying. But anyway,
I think I watched the trailer freaking 50 times when it came out that day. I just kept watching it over and over again. I just let me watch it again.
Okay, so and next, if you ever want to do your top 5 most watched trailers, because I've got trailers that I watch all the time. We'll do that one time.
Definitely, because I already can tell you what my number 1 trailer is. The Con Air teaser trailer. It was supposed to be a routine transfer. It's probably my favorite trailer of all time because it introduces all the criminals and everything, and then and Cameron Pearl, and then the heroic music comes on, the hair blows in the wind, and then unfortunately he just got on the wrong plane, and then electric guitar music plays, shit blows up, and I was like, that's the best fucking movie I've ever seen, and I haven't even seen it. And
I guarantee you nothing goes to plan. I guarantee you it goes awry.
Correct. Yeah, and this is still one of my favorite movies. I'm literally not friends with people who don't like Con Air, and I'm like, nope, fuck you. So,
we had 2 copies of Con Air because my wife bought it on DVD and then I had it on DVD, so I had 2 copies.
Look, I'm quite right too. I remember I used to have a big cardboard cutout which I got from the movie theater just after it finished, and they gave it to me, and I would sleep with it every night and lie next to it. And kiss it.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't, but I had it anyway, and I had to get rid of it whenever I moved over here from the UK, and I had to get rid of it, but it was my precious, and I miss it.
But my wife jokes with me all the time. I mean, this is I think it's kind of funny, but because I'm such a fanboy in like all these action movies and all these guys that I'm like, I'm not gay, right? But I'm like, I love these guys, right? And she's like, "Are you sure you're not gay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sure I'm not gay." You're like, "You know,
not that there's anything wrong.
Yeah.
Don't cancel the action elite.
Yeah, or just put that as a statement there. Everything's fine.
I have two gay friends from childhood.
No, but I'm like, no, I am not. But it's like, you don't understand. You have to be in our position to understand. Like, I grew up watching movies. That's why I always thank my dad, because he got me into watching movies. And it's like, and I just, you know, all these guys, you know, and even to this day, you know, with Scott Adkins and, you know, and Donnie Yen and all that, it's like, these guys are just like, oh, and you were saying, this is our church, this is our religion. You know, I was telling you the other day how some guy was writing me, you know, because I made a comment and I even put LOL at the end. And he said, "Why are you being so serious? Everybody's always serious about these movies." I'm like, of course I'm fucking serious about these movies, because this is my life. This is
my passion. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, you know, it's like Jesus. It's like, but you know, enough of that. You know, I'm right.
It's always just a movie to someone who doesn't care about something, but you'll find something that they like.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, it's just a car. It's like, oh, I love my car. I upgraded, and it's like, okay, it's just a car, right? Like, you could say that for anything that's somebody has a passion for something, right?
Exactly.
Like, people just say that I waste money. Literally, I had arguments, because I had about 4,000 DVDs at the time, and now I've got about 3,000. And the guy's like, "Oh, you spend so much money on DVDs," and I'm like, "You're a chain smoker. You're literally smoking all the time. How much is a pack of smokes? Like $20? Well, that's a DVD. It's like you're doing like 2 packs a day and killing your lungs, and you smell like shit. So it's
and you don't have any good movies to watch.
And you don't have any good movies to watch, and you know, and soon you're gonna have a hole in your throat.
You're literally smoking while you're telling me I'm wasting money.
No, I'm serious. I'm like, dude, like, just spend $20 on this. It's like,
you're like, you're wasting money on DVDs.
You're having DVDs.
So yeah. Anyway, kind of went off there. So we will on to Expendables 2. So a lot of people love this one the most in the series, which I get. I mean, you've got Jean-Claude Van Damme as Jean Villain, and he is the best. He is the best villain of the franchise. That's undisputable. He is the best, and he is the best lines like, "I like Simbo," and "Don't challenge me."
Plutonium, the plutonium. No, what does he say? Yeah, plutonium. Is that what he?
Oh, to upset the balance of the world.
I love the ending. I love the ending because I just watched it yesterday before he fights Stallone. He's got the knife in his hand. He's like, "What was his name? What did you call him?" And he's like, I'm like,
what does it matter?
What does it matter? Yeah, what does it matter? Yeah.
But that opening 15 minutes though is fucking awesome though. Just whenever they first appear and decimating the bad guys, that's awesome.
Yeah. I was watching it with my wife and I said, "Honey, you know it's a good action movie when the opening action scene is the equivalent of most movies' ending scenes." I'm like, this is just the beginning. So yeah.
Yeah, he speaks the truth. Yeah, you know, that opening scene and then the plane taking off as all shit's blowing up and you got jet skis and stuff. And I always want more jet skis in action movies. There aren't enough jet ski chases. That's why Hard Rain is awesome.
Oh, I love Hard Rain. That's one of my trailers.
Actually, let's maybe how about next week we just do the one movie and we just talk about Hard Rain. We'll do like a Sumi show. I love Hard Rain or something. And we'll just talk about Hard Rain. Let's do that. All right.
I love it. I have to watch it again. I haven't watched it in a long time because you know I don't have the time. But I would definitely watch it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I remember before it came out. Do you remember it was called The Flood?
Yes.
And they changed the name.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
So,
yes.
But now it's in the Hard Trilogy: Hard Target, Hard Boiled, Hard Rain.
Yep, that's right. And then there's like hard to kill as well. So you know, there's.
Yeah. I'll throw that one in there.
And Graham Yost wrote it, and he did Speed and Broken Arrow, right?
Yep. He just writes quality action movies. Yeah. So and of course the second movie, Expendables, has Scott Adkins in it as Hector. Go and pick it up and hand it to me nicely.
He's doing boyka. He's doing boyka. How can you not love it? He's like, I'm gonna do my boyka. I'm gonna do my boyka. You know, it's like I love it. It's like, and that part at the when they first meet, you know, like when they get the device and they come walking up and you see Jean-Claude in the shadows and then all of his men and everything. I love when Statham comes, he drops it and he walks away and he's like, hey, he's like, pick it up. And then he walks up to him. They're like staring at each other. I'm like, oh man, two Brits are gonna fuck each other up at the end.
Yep. I mean, yeah, the final fight scene between Scott and Jason is too slow, and even Scott said that himself, that it should have been longer. But it's still awesome, and he still gets thrown into helicopter blades at the end. And I was like, it's the return of the epic bad guy death. So that's awesome. So anyway, so J-Man, your thoughts on part 2?
Okay, so look. Well, Gunnar gets a little bit downplayed, so that kind of is Dolph Lundgren. I love, but Van Damme. I'm blinded by Van Damme. So here's the problem. Yeah. The second Van Damme appears and starts talking, I'm like, this is the best film ever made since the last film Van Damme had a speaking and at that point in time, now I had seen every Van Damme movie that I could possibly have seen with my age, and even Sneaking into Time Cop, which I mentioned on your last stream, Owen. I saw In Order to Run. Hey, Grandmaton. Hey, it was nice seeing you on my stream the other night, man. Thanks for popping by.
I'm taking to Hawaii.
Yeah. So the thing is that like when I'd seen every Van Damme movie, I think Double Team and Knockoff were like the last ones that we got here in Canada.
Yeah.
Now the when did JCVD come out? I can't remember, but I did see that one in theater. So I had
2009. I think
2009. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember the years on all of these things. But the thing is, by this point in Expendables 2, seeing Van Damme in a theater setting was something that we hadn't done in a while, or it became a very rare occurrence, right? So it was just exciting to see him. You had the voice, and just like you guys, we walked out and we started quoting the lines of Van Damme, and it's like, oh my God, you know. And I just loved him. And I thought, the fights maybe could have been a bit better considering you had Van Damme. Like, if I go back and even, I don't want to say critically, because I don't want to be like one of those guys, but if I'm rating it against itself or against its predecessor, you could say, well, maybe it wasn't as good that way. But Van Damme blinds me. He's definitely the best villain. And just seeing him in there with like even the coat, like the poster look. I like that each guy had his own poster. This is where you start getting into the marketing, where each guy has like this really epic poster now, and then there's so many of them, right? That you're just like, holy crap. Now, Chuck Norris, Chuck Norris, was this was his was this his first and only
the only time,
right? Yeah, this was the only time. I mean, dude, like Chuck Norris, like
Chuck Norris.
I don't think I'd seen any Chuck Norris film in the theater at all. This was probably the first time I had seen him in a theater.
You're right,
yeah.
Because I don't remember being old enough to really see any of those other Invasion USA or the Canon.
Yeah, we were tiny when they first came out,
right? So this was a big treat, really. So it's almost like this was an event picture, which is to say that there was no chance that I was going to dislike it. Is it my favorite? Maybe because of those reasons. It's hard to disassociate yourself sometimes. You know, like I can't critically analyze and be like, well, maybe Expendables 1 is a technically better film. It's not like John Wick where I can, because I don't have an affinity for Keanu Reeves. Like I can rate the John Wick movies against themselves. Expendables 2 is awesome. It's Van Damme. Like I don't know. My review's over. JCVD is the villain. Come on.
You got Van Damme, Scott Adkins is the villain.
Scott Adkins is,
Yeah, the only thing which bothered me about it doesn't really bother me, but it was like the Chuck Norris cameo. I was like, why are you playing Clint Eastwood music?
Yeah.
It's like the man with no name, and I was like, it would have been better if you'd played something else. But even if you did something really subtle, like the missing in action theme or Delta Force, where it's like
or
Eyes of a Ranger.
yeah, anything like that would have been cool. But anyway, so Jeff, what do you think of part 2?
Like J-Man said, went to watch it in the cinema, came out, and I was like, don't challenge me. And then I was like, running around the car park once again, attacking the public, you know. But once I watched them there back to back, the first one I felt, because I did watch them back to back, being a nerd, I was in the zone. I was in the Stallone zone, and it was all serious. And then the second one, like we discussed before, they had totally just sort of just said, here, Dolph, here's a pack of crayons and go draw in the corner. They cut him down completely. For me, the opening scene, as you said, it was epic. Jet Li's fight scene still stands as one of the best in the series. It's so short, but it's so reminiscent of the old Hong Kong style of fighting with the frying pans. It was awesome. The end scene as well, you know, where you got like Arnold, Stallone, and Bruce Willis in the airport standing just in a row.
The hero shot. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the banter, you know, he's like, what was that? He's like, I'm gonna need ammo. I'll be back. And he's like, you've been back enough.
I'll be back.
Then Chuck Norris pops up, starts mowing guys down. He's like, who's next, Rambo? You know,
I hate that line. No, I remember I was like, oh,
so like I don't know. Well, yeah, that's what I'm getting to now. It was eventful, but it just was like Stallone was like, right, the first one I've bust my back. I know he's like, do you know what? Let's have a bit of fun here. Let's just make a comedy, you know,
parody.
Yeah, and that's all it was. It was fun, but it wasn't as good as the first one if you're going in for like a Stallone movie. But it was a fun movie. Whereas without going into it more, like I think the beginning bit of the third movie is excellent. And it feels more like an Expendables movie, then it just loses it. Whereas the second one has hints of it, like the beginning bit is an Expendables movie, and then it kind of loses it and just doesn't take itself as serious. You get what I mean? Which kind of takes you out of it a wee bit.
Yeah, I agree. Also, and this may be a controversial comment, it's an ugly film, The Expendables 2. I've seen this to you, and the thing the other night. It's like, I don't know if it's filmed is it Bulgaria or somewhere. Sorry if anybody's from Bulgaria, but it's just grey and miserable. And like the first one in the fantasy island of Valena was, you know, sunny, and you know, it's, I don't know. I like movies which are sunny. I hate seeing cloud and rain because I'm from Scotland. That's all I've seen for most of my life. There, so like, I don't want to see any more rain. And you know, it just had that sort of grey, grimy look to it, so it's just sort of ugly. But also, I forgot that it was directed by Simon West, who directed Con Air. But yeah, also the final fight, I always kind of giggle at whenever Stallone and Van Damme and they're taking off their belts and everything, and I was like, are these guys about to like get it on or what?
And then he goes, Stallone goes, he's like, I'll man you up. I'm like,
oh man,
like, what's going on right now? It's like,
where's the baby oil?
Wrong with,
no, nothing wrong at all.
No, it's a wonderful, valid life choice.
No, it's Fight Club. No shoes, no belts, right? It's like, you know, oh, that's Tango and Cash.
Rambo's a pussy. Yeah. We will get to that shortly once we're done with the trilogy. Steven.
Yep. I mean, I agree with any of the criticisms for the movie, but it's just so awesome that you can't ignore. It's just so much fun. Like, Chuck Norris shows up by destroying a tank. Like, that's his introduction to the movie.
Like, what do you, come on?
You know, and like they do a Chuck Norris joke. I love Chuck Norris jokes. I have 4 books over here, just Chuck Norris jokes. Okay. One of my favorites is, you have figure skeletons in your closet. Chuck Norris has real skeletons in his closet. It's just awesome. Like having Chuck Norris there, having Van Damme there, it felt more like the complete roster. Missing pieces from the first one were in this one, for sure. The stuff in the airport's great. I remember that scene where Chuck Norris like kills it, like shoots the guy like 40 rounds in him, and he goes down, and he's going through the metal detector,
the X-ray machine, whatever it is. Yeah.
You know, it's just a rousing, fun time. It does get a little bit slow in the middle. There's that whole scene where I felt like we were. That is undeniable. You know, it does get a tiny bit slow. You know, there's that thing where they're like hiding out and they're just talking, and I'm kind of like, okay. Like the problem is that with the first movie being so successful, it ups the expectations, right? And they sort of met that a bit with getting Norris and Van Damme in there, but you have to keep like getting more and more outrageous. I think they did that with the airport scene and the stuff in the beginning, but it's almost like, you get impatient during the slower periods because you're like, I know the action's coming. They wouldn't have got this cast together to just talk for like 10 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. Obviously the best villain. I have zero idea what Van Damme's actual plan is. Like I absolutely do. I have no idea. Like I've watched it again. I'm like,
we're selling plutonium.
Plutonium?
Plutonium. He wants to make money.
Yeah. I want to make money. And it's funny thing is that whenever they start talking about the plot, that scene is like 20 seconds long. And they're like, oh, cut back to the Expendables. I'm like, wait, what? I feel like we were missing something there. But anyhow, it's a fun movie. I definitely agree. It's very gray and very like dreary. I think that's the best word for it, is dreary. But it's still fun. And it's just a treat again to see all these guys in there with Van Damme and Norris. So
yeah, agreed. And then you have can't beat the classics. Or is it, nobody said you can't beat the classics with the knuckle dusters. Love that. That's awesome. So John.
I agree with I agree with everybody, but I mean, even with its flaws, it's still the Expendables, and you still have all these great action stars all in one place, and you got more this time. Like Stephen was saying, you got to up it up. So it's like, oh, let's get all these other guys. So now it's like a game. It's like, because now, like what we're gonna get into later, everybody's like, ooh, who's gonna be in this one now? Type of thing. But how can as a fan, of 80s action cinema, at the end when Van Damme and Atkins and all their cronies are come around, and you see the glass, and all of a sudden the machine guns go off and the glass shatters. You fucking see Schwarzenegger, Stallone, and Willis, who had a personality in this one, kind of, by the way. Yeah. And they're all standing next to each other, freaking firing away. I'm like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. That's one of the best shots out of the whole series. It's just them just standing next to each other and just firing away. That's a dream come true. I can't say nothing. And then Owen, you and I are always talking about how Van Damme's been looking like miserable in all of his movies and direct-to-video movies. He was actually having fun with this movie. Yeah. He was like, and partially because he knew this was a big theatrical movie, and he was like, you know what, this is what I used to do. I was known for this. Like, if I'm going to be the bad guy in this movie, I'm going to be the best bad guy. I mean, how can you not love the ending where he's like, over so soon, I want my money's worth. Like that. And he, not that it was as good as in Bloodsport, but he does his helicopter kick twice. It's like, oh my God, he just did a helicopter kick. But like I said, it's flawed. We all know it's flawed. Like Jeff was saying, there's a lot of more comedy in it, which is fine and everything. But the ending, the beginning, the middle's a little muddled, like you were saying. But at the same time, it's just an action extravaganza, and I go like this, like between the first one and the second one. It's like, today number one, today number two. It's like I watched number two yesterday. I'm like, I think I like this one a little bit better. But it's like, so how can you be an action fan and not love it? That's all I'm saying.
And then of course there's some great lines too. So, I now pronounce you man and knife. I love that. One of my favorite lines.
Let me say one thing. And the other thing I love about these movies is because Stallone did in the first one, and of course you had different directors for the other one. They give everybody a chance to shine. They give them all their moments. It's like, okay, here's this person now. Now here's this person. Now this guy has it. I always thought it was kind of weird that Statham kind of disappeared in the middle of it. Like he sent him off to go get the weapons. It's like, did he have something to do? Did he have to leave the set or something? I always thought that was kind of weird, but whatever. But he came back. But everybody gets their moments to shine, and it's like, and of course the Jason Statham Scott Adkins fight, that's what I was living for when it came out. And Atkins was injured, and then there was the whole tennis ball player guy thing. I don't even know what the fuck that was all about.
The tennis player.
They shot that scene, and it took away from this scene. I heard that's what I heard. Like they were filming this scene, it was supposed to be in the movie, but it shortened the Statham Atkins fight. But even as short as it was, it probably could have been longer and a little bit more extravagant. It was still Jason Statham and Scott Adkins fighting. So it's like, how could he not?
I mean, I remember after watching it, my main thing was I wanted to see a prequel with Jean Valjean and Hector, and I just wanted more of Van Damme. And that was the thing with the movie, is that Van Damme was a little underused, and that's even the same with like Mel Gibson and the third one, is that, you know,
Right.
the villains don't really get enough to do. They're just there. I'm the villain. That's it. There's like nothing else to it. But you know, they don't need to have like huge depth or anything to them. But I just would have liked a bit more time with Villain or Villain, whatever it is pronounced. But
well, can I make a quick comparison to I think with the switch in the tone, like where there's some more comedy and more one-liners and all that. I think this is like, I don't know for sure, but like this is like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1 and Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Toby Hooper did both. Right, yeah, there you go. See, now you got it, right? Without me saying it. The first one, very gritty, realistic, kind of like scary, looks almost like a documentary. Second one is off the wall, crazy amounts of gore. Literally two chainsaw sword fights. You're like, this is outrageous.
I prefer the second one. I'm just putting it out there. I love the second one.
So do I. Unpopular opinion, I like part 2 the best. But the thing is, I think this is where we're going with this, where it's like the first one was like, we got the boys back together for a good old fashioned gritty, you know, action film. And I don't want to say that he's going through the time period, but like the action movies did get more heavy one-liners. They got a little bit more extravagant. That you know, the action got a little bit more amped up, and it got a little bit more crazy, and it started to go into that little bit of silly. You know, silly, like as the Rambos went on, same thing. Like Rambo 3, we got into, okay, now it's just crazy. He's jacked to shit. Nothing can touch him. This is outrageous. And I don't know if he was trying to follow that pattern by saying, let's make it, you know, crazier and maybe not the same. Because if you just made it the same tone and everything's exactly the same as the first one, people are going to say, well, we already saw this movie. Like, what are you offering me that's different, you know, in this one? And this one's like, well, let's make it more fun and more one-liners and more cheer out loud moments where you're sitting there and you're like, I think part 2 is a more fun experience in the theater than part 1 because of the Van Damme, the lines, Chuck Norris, and the Chuck Norris jokes. And you're like, yeah. And I remember just being a little bit, people were cheering a little bit more like, oh yeah. Oh, and, you know, like they're laughing and stuff. And again, if you're going back and saying, let's compare these two films as a film and be like, well, this one's a little bit too crazy. The tone's different. It doesn't look as pretty, like filmically cinematography, as Owen said. But I mean, you know, I think that's what Stallone was going for, like trying to make it a little bit more, you know, funnier to I don't know, just to show the change in tone of action movies as they, you know, went through the decades.
But then it ends in this like surprisingly horrifically dark moment where he cuts off Van Damme's head and keeps it in a bag. But I love Bruce Willis's reaction, and it's classic Bruce Willis, like, it's a little extreme, but nice. It's just like it was pure McClane Bruce Willis.
See, that's a line. It kind of lightens the load of that really
that horrific moment.
It's awkward. Yeah, it's really awkwardly like, what is this, a horror film? It's like a slasher movie now, right?
Well, that just goes back to Willis having a personality. Like, I love when he goes, like, you hear it's off camera because he's off camera, but he's like, go get the little rascals. You know, it's like, that's Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
It's like, I love it. It's like, you know, we don't see that anymore. You know, there's 10 movies that he does now. So,
actually, yeah, the Expendables 2 finale is set in an airport, and the production took time out to film a brief cameo where Novak Djokovic picks up his racket to whack terrorists.
Yeah, that's it.
That was time allotted for the Adkins Statham fight. Yeah,
that's what I was talking about. Yep, they wanted to film that scene, and Adkins was talking about it. And I don't know if I talked to him about it, but I remember hearing he's like, that took away from their scene, which is blasphemy. I'm like, how could you, like, you got these two guys here that everybody wants to see fight, but you're gonna put a freaking tennis star whacking, you know, it's like they didn't put it in, but it's like, but we still suffered because of it because the scenes were shorter. So it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's still a fun movie. I still enjoy it. I mean, when I've been watching all three of them this past week, I've found something to enjoy in all of them. Just great seeing all of these guys together and just kicking ass. And like I said, Van Damme in this, Adkins, Chuck Norris. I mean, what's not to like? So, all right, so on to the third and so far final one. Now, what was interesting about this one was the change in tone of it, where Stallone said before it came out, we're going to make it like The Raid, and it's going to be like a total like badass action movie or whatever. And then it came out, and he's like, oh, it's going to be PG-13, and we owe it to this generation. And I'm like, you mean this generation that doesn't give a fuck about you or these movies?
Right.
So I'm like, why would you do that?
Right?
And yeah. So yeah, I remember, to be honest, I nearly hated it the first time I saw it, the theatrical version, and I was like, oh, it's all cut. There's no swearing, there's no violence, there's no cool kills, and I was like, what's the point? And then there's so much time spent with this young crew. Whenever I don't care about these people, I want to. Where's Daniel Bernhardt? Where's other people who should be in here instead?
Yeah.
Or where's Steven Seagal? Why has he not been in these movies yet? But that's his fault. But as I've gone on and I've watched the unrated version of Expendables 3, I do like it more. Definitely my least favorite of the three. But I actually really enjoy Antonio Banderas in it. I know he's supposed to be an annoying character, but I love Galgo. I just think he's like really funny. And in the extended version, he's like courageous but insane. That line wasn't in the theatrical version, and then it's in the unrated cut. So there's just sort of more stuff there. Wasn't there supposed to be like an axe scene or something at the end, which was cut, like a final fight scene?
Reading something about that, yeah.
Yeah, it was. So
maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I've read the original script to it, The Expendables 3, which I have somewhere. And initially, there was a character in it called 3D, and it was supposed to be Jackie Chan. And he dropped out, and then he was replaced with Galgo, I believe. So that was too bad, because Jackie Chan needs to be in these movies. It's like, why is Jackie not being in it? But I can't remember if there was scheduling conflicts or he just didn't want to do it. Maybe read the script. But yeah. Anyway, Stephen, your thoughts on part 3?
It was disappointing. The problem with this movie is it starts out really good. You got Wesley Snipes finally. Like, that was one of the missing pieces who needed to be in these movies. You get in, you have a kick-ass beginning scene, and then like, this movie baffled me. Like, Stallone just is like, you know what? You guys should be allowed to go and have a family and get married. And I'm like, have you seen these guys? Like Dolph Lundgren is 56, I think, at this point, and he's insane. Like, his character is insane. No one's marrying him. No one's going to have a child with him. Like, this is really bad, right? Like, it was baffling to me. And then, like, like, they had Harrison Ford. Like, the problem is that they seem to be like, the old times of action movies are gone. The old stars of action movies are gone. It's the new generation. But the new generation sucks. And the only time, well, first of all, there is no new generation, because everyone they had there, I'm like, Ronda Rousey, okay, she's been in how many movies before? One of the dudes from Twilight, like, these aren't action stars. These aren't action, recognizable. I'm not going to go woohoo the guy from Twilight's here. Like, what are you doing? Harrison Ford, like, again, Harrison Ford shows up. It's like, it's awesome, right? Like, Antonio Banderas shows up. Even Kelsey Grammer. Like, I'm like, why is Kelsey Grammer in this movie? He was great. Like, when he's picking people up, he's like, he's falling asleep and stuff. Like, he's like, I can't remember anymore. Like, I love Kelsey Grammer in this movie, and I shouldn't have. But I'm like, anyone who's like a veteran is great, and the young stars are terrible. They're just terrible. They're bland, and they're like, oh, we're cool. The one guy's like, I'm cool. I'm a computer guy. I'm like, shut up. Like, a computer guy? Like, is this where action films have gone? Like, ooh, I can hack into things. Oh, that's great. Mel Gibson is terrific as the villain. Mel Gibson doesn't get enough credit for his versatility. He can be, number 3 was all about,
free acting class.
The good guy, and he can be a real rotten bastard. Like, he can just be a vile scumbag, and a dangerous vile scumbag. Like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, this guy potentially should win. I love Van Damme the most, and he's the best villain. But I think Gibson felt to me like the most formidable one. Like, there was just something about him. I'm like, I didn't want Van Damme killed. I certainly didn't want him beheaded, but I'm like, someone kill Gibson. Like, someone kill this guy. Like, seriously. The fight at the end, like, I think he gave Stallone a run for his money. And there's some great action bits in it, like, the building collapsing and he's running through it and stuff. That's awesome. But like, that entire, like, and you can see, like, the old crew, they're just like, they go back to nothing. And I'm like, why would you take all of these great characters and all these great, like, action stars and say, we're not going to use you for half the film? Like that is like baffling to me, right? But I knew we were screwed right off the bat when Jet Li was like, "See you later," right at the beginning. I'm like, that's not a good sign. It's okay. It's definitely like you watch 1, you watch 2, and if you got a couple free hours, maybe you watch part 3. But if you don't, that's fine. Like it's okay, but it's definitely not anywhere near the quality of the first 2.
I would agree with that. Now, John is actually a defender of this movie, so John, you have the con.
Oh man, you put me on the spot. Okay, let me just say, the movie's got problems. Like Steven, like I agree 100%, Steven, with you. I mean, I mean, who the fuck are these people? It's like, it's like I don't even remember the computer guy's name. I just watched it yesterday. I'm like, I still don't remember this fucker's name. It's like, but it's like, I like. Here's what I like about it. Okay, 1, the beginning's awesome. Like he's like say you got Wesley Snipes, and actually Wesley Snipes kicks a lot of ass in this movie.
Yeah,
and I like. Here's what I like. I like that. Yes. I kind of like how like I think Stallone was filled because like Snipes is talking about the jingling, all the dog tags of all
jingling.
And how all the Expendables that have fallen. I think he was to the point where he didn't want to see any more of his men get killed. So he's like, you know what? He felt more about these guys than the newer guys. So he's like, you know what? I'm gonna get these guys because I'm gonna fucking die or not because they're just like they're just like young people. But I like how he gets this new crew, but who has to save him at the end? It's the old guys. It's like, and I like that. And again, I think the ending's pretty fucking cool. Of course, I don't watch the PG-13 version. I saw it in a movie, and I was like, yeah, this is same. But the extended is a little bit better. There's more violence in it. There's more killing. But you got to admit, the ending, there's a bigger body count than Rambo First Blood Part 2. There's people dying everywhere in this movie. It's like, and they're mowing them down with helicopters and I just love, and again, I'm a big Jason Statham fan, and I love the scene where he's running the gauntlet, he's running through the guys, and he takes the guy and he flips him over and uses him for a shield, and then, he's throwing knives at people and stuff like that. And then Wesley Snipes shows up and he's kicking people's asses and everything, and I'm like, this is okay, we're back to an Expendables movie. It's like the middle part, it's like you take that part out, you put the first part and the third part together, and then you got a better movie. And to go with and I think you said it, Antonio Banderas. I love his character. I love when they're in the plane and all 4 guys are standing there. And he's like, you better get out of the seat. Christmas is coming. He's like, but it's June. I just love that line. It's like, and then I love at the end when he's killing all the people. He's like, this is the happiest day of my life. I love that. But then he's got some meat to his character because then he's talking to Stallone and he's talking about all these guys, and here they're all guys on his crew that died. So there's a little bit of meat on the bone with his character too. I'm not even going to talk about the new people because you know what? It's like whatever. It's like I didn't even want to see them. But for the most part, 2/3 of the movie I'm a fan of. And again, like I said, the ending still kicks ass. There's shit blowing up, the body count's high, and you got everybody doing what they're supposed to be doing. Statham gets his fight with the big guy, and you got Mel Gibson in it. Now, of course, Jean-Claude Van Damme, we all said, is the best villain, but Mel Gibson's a close second because he just brings gravitas to the role. Yeah. And I like the fact that he's a former Expendable that's gone rogue. I like that aspect too.
That was cool.
I thought that was pretty cool too. But so in terms of defending the movie, I like it. But of course, I only watched the extended version. I like 2/3 of the movie. So that's my take.
Yeah. But the thing is, it has arguably the best stunts of the series. Like you got the motorbike stunts and things like that. And whenever during the climax in the building, and I was like, there's some really kick-ass stunt work in this movie.
Somebody actually did that. I mean, that was a thing. That guy rode up there and like grabbed onto the thing. You know, it wasn't Kellen Lutz because that guy wouldn't do it, but it's like somebody did it.
But yeah, and then what else was I going to say about it? Fuck, I can't remember. Well, I'll think about it. J-Man, what do you think of part 3?
Okay, so I've, you know what? Maybe let's go Jeff first because I've got like a little bit of a thing that I want to address and everyone can answer. So
over to you, Jeff.
Do it, Jeff.
Okay. The third one, as I mentioned previously, the beginning bit with the rescuing of Snipes and then straight onto the dock scene was unreal. The action there was, you got like two finales basically in the opening of the Expendables 3, and it was so old school. It was great. The bit that griped me though was they replaced even CGI blood with like some sort of dust. Like when people got shot, it was just dust flying out of them. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but on YouTube, someone done a fan edit. It's brilliant. Look it up after Expendables 3 fan edit, and they've got heads blowing up. They've got when the chain goes across on the train tracks, people getting cut in half. They've edited. Oh god,
that's what we want to see.
I have to check it out.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It looks so professional. You'll love it. I promise you'll love it. And then, as John said, the middle bit of the Expendables 3 is take that out and go to the finale, and then you got something special there. Minus the dust and all. Every character gets their moment, and Jason Statham clearly has the best action scenes in that film. The end bit alone is unbelievable. And as Owen said, Galgo's a good addition. Another thing that I was meant to say when we were on the first one and then the second one, and I'll just say it now, even though each film has its own tone to it, they all go back to the same thing. There's always one dramatic scene. So the first one has Mickey Rourke's speech.
Oh, yes.
Yes, the second one has Liam Hemsworth's speech about, like his dog getting put down and stuff. Then the third one has the scene in the van, which is a pure highlight of that movie.
Yes.
Where they've just captured him, and then this dialogue between Mel Gibson and that's classic cinema right there. Just in that segment, it's unreal. But overall, part 3 would be my least favorite, and I would always watch the extended unrated cut.
Actually, I can't believe we totally forgot to mention Mickey Rourke in the first one, because Mickey Rourke was another one who just took him to acting school in that first one. But I mean, when he is telling that story about the girl on the bridge and whatever, and he's tearing up, I'm watching it and I'm like, I got something in my eye, and I'm tearing up here. I don't know why. And he's fantastic, and I think it's too bad that he never came back for future entries, because I love Tool as a character, and then that was kind of their base, whereas like they go back to Tool and he creates the missions and everything, and I hated that they kind of took that out.
But in the other two movies, it was just some random bar. It's like, it's like, so.
Another thing as well, when Wesley Snipes and Jason Statham first have the interaction in the plane, I thought that was a really cool scene, and then Wesley Snipes saying thank you to the guys. That was
that was good. Cool. So I'm a knife before Christmas as well. I just love all the puns and everything.
Well, I love how he's like, what does he say to him? He's like, how'd you go to prison? So he's like, tax evasion. I just
love that.
He's like, listen, I know I fucked up. I'm gonna make fun of it. It's like I screwed up. All right. I love that part.
So, right, Jay, over to you now.
Okay, so when I saw it in the theater, I didn't like it, all the reasons you mentioned. But I decided to spend 48 hours in a cave meditating on Expendables 3, and I've come up with this, what I think is a brilliant little thing. If we take the Expendables movies as sort of Stallone's statement on action films throughout the eras where they got cheesy and one-liners, then we got into this era of Expendables 3, where the beginning is the Expendables we all wanted to see. The next middle segment, which everyone agrees was not that great with these new people, I think the point is that they're not good. I think that's intentional. Like, they have all these cool intros, but they end up all getting beat. And as John said, the old guys got to come back. And remember, they're facing off against Mel Gibson, who isn't expendable. They're not good enough. They're not memorable enough. They have very stereotypical things. He's the computer guy, and that's all you know him as. Rhonda is the girl fighter, and that's all you know her as. And I think maybe Stallone really thought this through and really thought this was going to be something very interesting, but perhaps it got away from him to where it got into too much of your sort of idea and thoughts, and you've missed out on the entertainment factor. But I actually think they're supposed to not be good. Like, and that is the point. It's like he gets these new people, but they're not cutting it. And I think he's making that statement to modern action movies, maybe even to the extent of having the no blood and saying, this is what modern action has become. These are the heroes you're now cheering. They're not that great. And, you know, once they get rid of those guys and the old guys all come back, and you guys are proving it by your reviews. That's why I wanted Jeff to go last, because I want to hear his thoughts. But it's like, oh, the beginning and the middle, or the beginning and the end are so good, just take out the middle. But the middle is the point of this movie. The point is that this isn't that great, right? And it's like these new action stars, there aren't any new action stars because action movies have changed. They're not what they used to be. They're not about one man taking on the, or, you know, beating the odds and fighting the bad guys. Now it's more like, well, we have to have this gritty, realistic thing, or we have to have this emotional, deep drama. It can't just be a guy kicking ass. We have to learn about his whole backstory and his family.
John Wick's one man army.
John Wick has brought that back, and we actually discussed that whatever weeks ago when we did the John Wick, which was what we all had. It was a breath of fresh air. You saw John Wick, like, wow, this is like how it used to be.
Saved the genre.
Yeah, it saved it. I think Stallone was actually thinking that. I don't have any evidence. This is just after my meditation on this. I have to rewatch the movie because honestly, I saw it in the theater and then I bought it. I bought the extended or whatever, and then I never watched it. So I haven't even actually rewatched it for the same reasons you guys have said. But I am going to rewatch it because I was really thinking about it, because we all know part 1 and 2 are great. I knew we're going to talk it up. And then I knew when part 3 was going to come on, it was going to be a sucks, or least favorite. I knew that was going to happen. But I think
I like it.
Yeah, okay, so no, but so here I'm giving you, so John, I'm giving you some ammunition to fight with people because I think it's intentional. We know that Stallone can make good action films and tell a cool story at the same time and have characters that you're pumped up for. So why are these characters not pumped up? Like Couture and Cruise, I didn't really care about those guys before, but they became cool as the movies came on, and they're new to me, right? Like they're not at the level of a Chuck Norris or something or a Jason Statham, but he amplified those characters. Even Stone Cold Steve Austin, really, that guy's a wrestler. He wasn't an action megastar, but he kind of made him cool, right? So why couldn't he do it with these characters? Ronda Rousey has good presence. She can fight. She can really fight. What happened? And I think it's intentional. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I don't know what your thoughts are on that take, but I think it's an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, they were made to fail so we wouldn't get emotionally involved with them, and then we wanted the old guys to come back, and they do. So
and they do. Yeah. It's weird. He gave you the Expendables, took them away, right? And then bring them back. You want to subscribe?
You got a fan.
I do already subscribe to my channel. I do comic book stuff mostly and geek shit. So.
Immediately read the
script. Jet Li, I'm not sure if there was just like he was just maybe under time and he just couldn't come back fully and do a whole bunch of stuff. I don't know.
He wasn't feeling. He was sick for a little bit.
Yeah, he was sick for a while. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
he was sick for a little. So when he came back, that's why he was only shooting guns. He wasn't really doing any fighting because he really didn't have the strength. I think.
Yeah. I think
getting old sucks.
Like, your point is valid for sure, and I see what you're saying. The problem ends up being when you make a movie like this and you pack in all these stars, it's a treat for us, right? Because if you think about, unfortunately, I look at movies nowadays like Days in the Office, right? Like you sit down, you're like, oh, I gotta get through this Marvel latest movie, and hopefully it just doesn't piss me off this time, sort of thing, you know, and that sort of thing. Or oh, I gotta go through this, you know, this Oscar bait movie, which I'm probably not going to care about as soon as I leave. But like the Expendables are movies you get like excited for. You're like, oh man, I'm going to see Wesley Snipes. I'm going to see Harrison Ford and Antonio Banderas and Kelsey Grammer. But I'm going to see all these guys. It's going to be awesome. And Mel Gibson's the villain, and he's intense. And then it's like, and who are these people? Like, it's where you're like, oh my God, please tell me they're not in the movie a lot. And Stallone was probably being very clever because Stallone in his career, I don't feel has been given a lot of credit for his ideas and his intellect. I think he's been sort of put into
always the underdog,
sort of, especially by the mainstream critics. And I think that's totally wrong. I think he's made some really interesting movies, but I mean, the problem is that I show up to watch these guys. If he's doing something clever or making a statement, that's very interesting and it's very brave of him. But as to be entertained, I'm not looking for that. And I'm like, oh man, you missed the mark this time. Mm-hmm. And that's literally how I approached the movie.
Mm-hmm. I also think part 3 looks cheap. It almost looks unfinished because like the CG blowing up helicopter and just there's some CG explosions and things. And I always felt, because do you remember it got leaked online? And I wondered if it got leaked out before it was actually finished.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I got invited to a screening of it anyway, so I held off for that. And then I went to see it, and I was like, oh, this is another one that kind of looks ugly. I don't know why. It just looks incomplete. And I was like, if you're going to do the proper throwback to the old school action, I want real explosions and real squibs, and none of this cheap CG shit. So, and because that really took me out of this one, I remember. It never bothered me in the other 2 movies, but this one was really noticeable, particularly the scene just after the opening, and Stallone and Wesley Snipes are walking away from the helicopter, and the helicopter explodes behind them, and I was like, that looks terrible. It looks so bad. But one thing I liked about this movie and why it did feel kind of like a throwback to the old school was I love the whole idea of we're getting a new team together. If it had actually been action stars that got together, like I said, Daniel Bernhardt or Steven Seagal, and they all had to get them together, that would have been really cool, because that's part of the fun, is getting the team together. But whenever it's these young people, we don't give a shit about, like you say, it's just less interesting. And I'm like, I don't care about these people. I just want to. Can we just move on and get to the interesting characters? I couldn't even tell you any of those character names. Like I'm like, it's Ronda Rousey.
I just looked up the computer guy. His name was Thorne. I'm like, his name's Thorne. I'm like, okay.
I don't even know the actor who plays him. I'm like, who's this guy?
Wait, Glenn Powell. I just looked him up. Glenn Powell played him. And
I know.
Going back to this guy, the ending. This is the funniest thing ever. Like Stallone, because he has the device where it's jamming the thing from blowing up. He tells them to go up higher so that way he'll get a better signal. He goes in the elevator shaft, and it's like everybody's getting their action scenes, and then they shoot back to this guy like 10 minutes later. Like, I forgot this guy was in the elevator shaft. He's still
yeah. What else was I going to say about it? Nope, I got nothing. Why did my brain always stop working? After about an hour, my brain is like, huh?
Let me just say one more thing. Like I said, again, people are going to hate it. People are going to like it. It's like, that's fine. I respect everybody's opinions. I'm just, I'm just giving you mine. Like I said, it's like, it still has what you love about it, but unfortunately to me, it's just got that void in the middle. It's like, I'm not going to lie. It's like I watch, like Jeff said, I go, as soon as Caesar gets shot, it's like I fast forward. It's like, oh, okay, now it's the ending. It's like, but yesterday I watched the whole thing again. I'm like, it's not a bad. It's like the middle part. It's like you just want to see those guys, and they get taken out of it, and it's just again, it's blasphemy. It's like, don't do that to Jason Statham. It's like, no.
Yeah.
On that note,
do you think that it would be sort of more dramatic and interesting if they killed off some of them? Sometimes, like they were initially going to kill off Terry Crews, but he didn't want to be killed off because he liked it. And I thought they should have killed him off because it would have worked better dramatically and emotionally. And then you had sort of Wesley Snipes to take his place. And because I always thought Terry Crews was just holding the spot for Wesley Snipes until he came out. So yeah,
they're the Expendables. That's the point. Yeah. Nobody, and in the third one, nobody died. Like nobody, not even people died. They all lived too. It's like somebody had to die. The only people that died are the dog tags that are hanging on the plane. It's like, oh, those guys died. What happened to those guys? It's like, but nobody. Yeah, that's the thing. When they make the fourth one, there's got to be some dramatic shit in this movie, and like somebody. It's like somebody's. To make it work, they're going to have to do something like that. I mean, I jumped the gun on that one. I'm sorry, but
no, that's all right. Like, well, now we'll move on to like the news of this week, where Stallone has posted a picture of his new lucky ring, and he says got the new lucky ring ready for the Expendables 4. And Stallone has always sort of mentioned, we're going to do Expendables 4. I'm like, okay, yes, we are, and then it never happens. But then Dolph Lundgren has put on his Instagram and he's a throwback to me as Gunnar in Expendables. I wonder what he's been up to of late. ... I was like, oh my god, the boys are back. So I think we're getting part 4.
Can I just say something? I mean, again, I had an older website, and I think I had 5 articles alone that are gone because I didn't bring them over. Like, every time he would announce something, I'd be like, yes, and then I'd post it. Then I'd be like, damn it. And then he would do it again. I'd be like, yes, damn it. And then he would do it again. And I'm like, damn it. It's like, I'm jaded at this point. I'm like, yeah, he showed the picture. Yeah, and you said, I didn't see Dolph Lundgren's post, so that makes me more curious. And I posted it again today, but if you read my article, it's very sarcastic. It's like, I'm only gonna believe it if it's like the cameras are rolling and you see people doing shit. That's like, oh, they're making another one. But then a Chinese company was gonna finance it too, because I guess the Expendables is big in China. So there was another time where that was going to happen. And then the other thing, Jason Statham was supposed to take over the franchise. It was supposed to be called A Christmas Story, which I don't know what validity to that story was. But it's just like, it's almost like a running joke anymore. It's like, it's been how many years since the third one came out? 9? It's like, I lost count. It's like, it's been a lot. It's almost been a decade. It's like, and Stallone just turned 75. It's like, these guys aren't getting any younger. It's like, can you make a movie already? It's like, it's stupid.
I know. I mean, like, I almost wonder if it would work better as like a TV series on like Netflix or HBO or something, where you could have episodes which focus on each of the characters. Like, I would love an episode focusing on Gunnar and just having Dolph or Jet Li or whatever. And sometimes they go on like their own individual missions, and then in the season finale, they all get together to whoop some ass. And do something cool. I mean, you could do some interesting stuff. I think it would be interesting. But like I said, or like you said, they're getting like super old now, so I don't know how it would work. But
they're still doing pretty good. I mean, even at 75. I mean, if I'm in his shape at 75, God love it. I mean, but that's why I love it. That's a great idea. Like doing a series and focusing on different members of the team, and that would be freaking awesome. But you know what the problem is? The guys that have the money don't think like we do. That's the problem. It's like, that's why when Stallone directs his movies, he's kind of thinking for us. Like, he directed Rambo, he directed the first Expendables movies. He's kind of like, this is what the fans want to see. But unfortunately, there's suits in offices that don't have a freaking clue what us want to pay money for, and that's the problem.
Well, we don't matter as an audience anymore. Like, we're in our 40s. We're the forgotten generation. So nobody makes things for us anymore.
We're expendable.
And it's like TV shows. When TV shows get canceled, it's because it wasn't popular in the 18 to 25 demographic. I'm like, who gives a shit about that? It's like, if you're watching it, you're watching it.
Yeah. So
it's ad space, though, right? They need to sell ads, and nobody. We're not in the ad business. Like, we're not the prime. That's why we're not the prime audience to sell the ads to. That's why TV shows that work like that.
Yeah.
I think that Stallone needs to write this one. He needs to direct this one, and even go as far to try and put it through Balboa Productions, so we don't have to wait for his director's cut. We get his definitive version. And then back on track.
Chronicles. Yeah, 100%. So just make it like the A-Team. Yeah, exactly. The suits want female strong leaders are the bestest ever, of course. Yeah.
I mean, the problem is that this movie does have to be a passing of the torch sort of movie, but who do you pass the torch to? Like,
yeah, I mean, there isn't anybody.
Yeah, that was the point of Expendables 3. That's what I was saying. Like, it's like, let's get the new action guys. Oh,
well, you can pass it. You can pass it off.
Like, who are they?
But you already killed him in the second one.
But you killed him.
Yeah.
You killed Scott Adkins. I can't think of anybody.
I know. I mean, if they were to do like a fourth one, like obviously, like, it annoys me that Seagal couldn't put down a Happy Meal for 5 minutes and fucking star in it, because like we all wanted to see.
He's eating more than a Happy Meal. He's getting the Big Mac combo, the double Mac or whatever.
The Grand Big Mac or whatever it's called just now. Yeah.
If it was just a Happy Meal, so it'd be all right.
I gotta say, one of the best things was watching. Was it Machete he was in, or was it Machete?
Yes, Machete.
Yes.
Yeah. Seeing that what was it? It wasn't even a knife. It was, what the hell was it? It wasn't a sword. It was like,
well, it's like a machete.
It was a machete.
This doesn't mean anything.
Yeah,
This doesn't
it's
mean
called
shit.
machete.
I can dive. I don't have to. I'm not gonna die
Yeah,
from this.
he says this doesn't mean shit to me, and I'm like, you see this machete hanging out of his big belly, and you're like, what is going on?
They gotta do part 3 of that.
Yeah.
In space.
More than a Happy Meal, damn near related. Yeah, but like people I would like to see in future, like Daniel Bernhardt, because he worked with Stallone on Escape Plan 3, which was kind of like a mini Expendables. That was good. Cynthia Rothrock, Olivia Gruner, Don Wilson, Richard Norton, Keanu Reeves, Liam Neeson, and I always wanted Clint Eastwood to play Barney's dad in a cameo. I just would have loved to see that, but also, you know, spread out a bit. Chow Yun Fat, would love to see him. Donnie Yen, Tony Jaa.
Like do like in Asia and like put Jackie Chan, Donnie Yen, you know, Eco US in it, and like just get all those freaking guys in it, and just like, you know, like do something like that too. That'd be cool.
That's why I love Triple Threat, because Triple Threat was almost sort of like a sort of mini Expendables, and you know, it kind of delivered everything. People were like, "Oh, I don't like it," and I was like, "Why not? It's got lots of fighting in it, and it's got all these fucking badasses. Like, what's not to like?"
You just keep triggering all my emotions right now, because you just mentioned Triple. That's a whole argument for another day, because I have people that I've almost got into fights with people because they say they don't like Triple Threat. And I'm like, you are gonna have to go through a window.
Yeah, don't call yourself an action fan, man.
I think Jeff Beekman would be a good one too.
Max, yeah. Well, yeah, you can sit there and come up with a laundry list.
Chris Pratt and Henry Cavill are actors, though they're not like action guys. So, I mean, they are mostly actors now.
It is now.
Yeah,
it's actors playing action stars. It's not action stars.
Mm-hmm.
And
it used to be about the muscle, whatever. Yeah.
There's a lot of good Asian stars out there, like Eco US, you know,
Tony Jaa.
Yeah, Tiger Chen doesn't get enough love. You know, it's like these guys are kind of like the new action stars if you think about it. You know,
it's too niche though. It's too
like I know.
Like,
I know.
Like
you
someone's
need
like, oh man, Chuck Norris, I got to see this shit. You know, it's like, right?
They're not going to sell tickets.
Right, they're not. Jackie Chan would get people in for sure.
But
some of these other big guys from like the Raid, I don't even know all their names, right? Like the guys from the Raid and all that. It's like I don't remember their names. It's like, and I've seen the Raid a bunch of times, and I have both of them on Blu-ray, and I saw it in the theater. It's like I can't remember everybody's name.
Wow,
John G.
Almost jaded. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah.
You know, another guy. It's too bad he passed away. It would have been great to see Sean Connery in one of these.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But also, like Gene Hackman as well would be great. Just to, you know, if he should be like the head of the Expendables, like the guy who started it all or something. He's just got a cigar. He's like, Jesus, Barney, I taught you better than this, or something.
He's one of the tags. I bet you if you zoom in, it's like John Wayne, Gene Hackman. It's like all these, like they could be some of the tag names. But are they really action stars? Some of the like the Expendables is referencing a very, very like perfect kind of segment, like you know, bunch of movies, right? Where some of these guys don't fit in that. Like Mel Gibson's in there, like from the Mad Max and Lethal Weapon.
Lethal Weapon, yeah. He's an action guy. Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's an action guy. But some of these guys are kind of outside of that. And and even if you got some of the Asian guys, again, they're not the American macho action films, which is what the Expendables
is about. Yeah.
It's about that, and that's really the point. Like some of sneaking in some of these other guys, like, you know, they have Kelsey Grammer. Yeah, he's a cool actor, but why? Like he's not.
Yeah, why is he in it? Yeah, that should be Gene Hackman.
Yeah.
Do you see that post on Facebook that somebody made up where it says action stars of yesterday, and you see Dolph Lundgren, Sylvester Stallone, and then you see action stars today. You got Tom Holland and Robert Downey Jr. And it's like that meme speaks volumes. It's like that's what's happening.
I love Frasier. Actually, I think it's a great series.
I love the scene actually in Expendables 3 whenever he's in the car with Barney, and he's telling me I got this lump in my lung, and I don't have much longer to live. And he's like, "Oh my god, really? No, it's all bullshit. I'm just making it up." Just want to hear you react. Make sure you still have a heart.
Another good way for them, I think, as well, to introduce these characters is to build upon something that's never really out there. Schwarzenegger's team. It's always fun.
Yeah.
Other teams,
Yeah, like, in the second movie, he's
like, I know for a fact Nicolas Cage is on Schwarzenegger's team. I know it.
Yes, with the long hair from Con Air.
Yeah,
and his name's Poe, just Poe. He doesn't have a first name. It's just Poe.
Then him and Galgo will team up to save everyone else.
Yeah,
I'd watch it. I'd watch the shit out of that, definitely.
Nicolas Cage, man, in an Expendables movie, that would be gold.
That would be amazing.
He should be the villain. He should be the villain.
Him and John Travolta should be the villains.
Oh my god! Oh my god! That's a stroke genius.
See, Nicolas Cage back then wouldn't work. You need the Nicolas Cage now. That shit will work. That the way he is now, it's like that'll sell things. It's like that.
But one thing we didn't mention, I wrote this down when I was writing the notes. It was in. Did you guys all watch the director's cut of the Expendables?
Yes.
There was a quote Christmas said to Barney just after they scouted Velena and they drove into the garage before Gunner comes up to the car. It was right there. The target has to deserve it. That was the Expendables code. And that's not in the theatrical version. They should still stick to that, because I thought that brought a whole new sort of meaning to what they were.
Code.
If
I
you
think a lot of
about
random
it,
people got blown away, though. Did they check everybody?
Collateral damage.
It's very loose. Like, they seem like a very loose organization, and if you had that in the theatrical, it would have tied it together. Made like, this is an actual organization, right? It's almost like what John Wick has become with the the rules of the hotel and all that. Where it's like there's this code and you can't break it. The Expendables seems like a very loose organization. Sometimes you even forget they're called the Expendables. They're just like Stallone's team.
Yeah,
a lot of the time. And it's hard to see them as expendable because no one dies. It's like,
and also that we quote, it ties up number 3 perfectly when Gibson's like, I moved up the chain and I went and Stallone's like, you went dark. That quote ties that up. Stallone's there for people that deserve to die, whereas Gibson's just there. Anyone who's going to make me money dies. Yeah. So it kind of screwed the in that one.
Also forgot to mention 2 people. Robert Davie, of course, has a small role in Expendables 3, which is awesome. From License to Kill and Die Hard and every 80s action movie like ever.
Maniac Cop 2.
Every movie from the 80s, pretty much.
Every movie, yeah. But then also, I like Nan Yu as Maggie in the second movie. I thought she was quite cool. I mean, even though I'd never heard of her really. But I thought she was cool.
Yeah, she was in Wolf Warrior as well, wasn't she?
Yeah, Wolf Warrior. Yeah.
I think so, yeah. I think 2 of the people who should be in Expendables 4, even if it's like a small role or whatever else, and people will disagree with me, but Dawn the Dragon Wilson and Cynthia Rothrock are both real-life martial arts stars and probably the most authentic action stars ever, because they actually were fighters in real life, and particularly Dawn Wilson won all kinds of championships. So I would love to see them come in. I mean, Cynthia Rothrock is the queen of martial arts. She needs to be in these movies in some capacity, even if it's just a small role, cameo, or whatever else. But she can still kick ass. She still looks great. So I would love to see Rothrock in it. Maybe bring in Gina Carano just to piss off as many people as possible.
Well, they believe in strong women until they don't.
Yeah.
They want strong women until they don't want them because of whatever other reason.
They want women, strong women with an opinion, unless the opinion doesn't match theirs.
Right. Yeah. That's right. Right.
Yeah. Got to have Carl Weathers. Yes, I can't believe Carl Weathers hasn't been in yet.
Yeah, he's got to be there. Speakman. Steve mentioned Speakman earlier.
Yeah, Jeff Speakman. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Another cool one would be Brian Bosworth.
Yes. Yeah. The first ever interview I did for the site.
Brian Bosworth.
I believe it was Brian Bosworth. Yeah.
Did you ask him if his character was tired after literally having a motorcycle race, then a bar fight, then like there was like 3 battles in like the first 20 minutes of Stone Cold. I'm like, okay, no human being, like, you'd be tired after this. Like, it's
no, do not speak ill of Stone Cold. That is my Bible.
Stone Cold is the best. I'm telling you, there's like tattoos, arm wrestling matches, bar fights, motorcycle
naked chicks, strip fights,
chicks.
Strip clubs,
like, strip clubs. He has that big lizard or whatever as like his hat, I think, or like it's outrageous. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's all Brian Bosworth. I would love to see it, and I would love to see sort of more of the outrageous characters. Oh yes, absolutely, of course. Michael Biehn. Would love to see him in some role. Kurt Russell as well. Remember, Kurt Russell was going to do an Expendables movie in the 80s, and he pitched that. And I was like, why didn't that happen? If we'd had like Rambo and Matrix and all these guys together, and McClane or whatever, the Valverde trilogy, there you go. That's what it should have been. So, yeah.
Another guy, though he unfortunately, again, he was deceased, but it would have been perfect if he was still alive with us, would have been Patrick Swayze.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Sure. Dalton himself, but also Sam Elliott from that movie. He should be in as like the mentor, just with his mustache and a cowboy hat, just tell him just war stories or whatever. I don't care what he says, just anything. He should narrate my life.
He's great.
Dudikoff, obviously Michael Dudikoff should be in them as well. And once again, it's too bad he passed away far too young. Steve James from American Ninja. He was awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome.
He was a real star of those movies. Sorry, Michael Dudikoff. Well, let's face it, he was
because he had all the personality.
Yeah.
Every line I ever say is James. Is his? I can't remember the character's name now. Drat. I've seen it so many times. What's his name? What's the character's name? Jackson.
Jackson.
Yeah, Curtis Jackson. Yeah, he's got the bike and everything. I love the American Ninja. At least the ones with him in it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's a question for each of you. Start off with you, Jeff. Who is your favorite Expendables actor and your favorite character from the movie?
That's an easy one for anyone that knows me. Stallone all the way, because he's basically raised me in the world of action. I'm not even gonna lie, like people are watching Winnie the Pooh, and that was me watching Cobra.
Same. Yep.
And I'm not gonna lie, I remember the first time I seen Cobra. My next door neighbor was watching it, and I happened to stand there in just called for him down there and seen it, sat down, and I remember Brian Thompson scared the shit out of me. I was having nightmares of him for ages. But yeah, it would be Stallone would be my favorite actor in the Expendables. My favorite character though is a tie between maybe Gunner and Barney.
Mm-hmm.
Slightly more Gunner.
I love Gunner.
Yeah, especially in the director's cut. I just love how Dolph can play such an unhinged character, but make him so likable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's the character with the most depth in the series. If you think about it, he gets the most sort of to do as a character in the first movie for sure. What about
the original draft? Of the script, because I'm pretty sure with the way his character was presented, his character was a whole lot darker, which I think would have been a lot more better given the time and budget to put that into the Expendables.
Mm-hmm. So Stephen, what about you?
Oh, it's Statham. It's Christmas. Like
It's Christmas time.
I love I've never been like, I'm rarely just the main guy. I'm always like the sidekick, because I'm always like the sidekick makes the main guy better. And like, I love Christmas as the second in command. I love Statham has always been like one guy I've always taken a shine to, even going back to Snatch. I remember when they said to him, "What's in your car?" and he's like, 4 seats and a steering wheel. Right? Like, he's always got that cool thing, but he's got that intensity. And what I really like about him is he's a knife guy, and everyone else has the guns and that. And Jet Li is Jet Li. He's the martial artist. and Cruz and Couture are the beefy guys, and Stallone's a beefy guy, right? He's jacked, right? But like Statham is just cool. He's stealthy, he's sleek, and he's effective and he's efficient. Like there's no waste of motion with that guy. He's just moving on. I love guys like that. Like but he makes everything look cool. He's like, I don't know, like whenever he's not there, I feel his missing presence,
his absence.
His absence, especially in the first two films. He's always around, so that's good. But like when he's not, especially of the crew, when he's not there in the third one for that scene, I'm like, oh God, this feels terrible. Like Kelsey Grammer can't save us. Like it's that bad. So definitely Statham, Christmas, my favorite character.
Well, I'm going to be predictable, and my favorite character is the villain, Jean Villain, by Jean-Claude Van Damme, obviously, because he's my hero. And I like rooting for the bad guy. So there. J-Man, you.
Well, because there's character and then there's actor too, right? So like, I don't know, Van Damme is one of them, and I did not have this planned. I pulled it off the shelf while you were talking. Let's just use a visual aid.
He-Man himself.
So He-Man, if Dolph Lundgren is there, it's Dolph's the best. He needs to be in every movie ever.
Yeah. So Stephen misses Christmas presents.
Yes, that's right.
And John, you favorite Expendable and favorite star of the movies?
Well, it was almost airy because Stephen invaded my brain there for a couple of minutes. But everything he
We bought you a drink first.
Yeah. But it's Statham. Statham's one of my top 3 action stars. And I mean, Stallone, Schwarzenegger, they're on a whole nother plane. And Norris. Those 3 are on a different plane for me. But the other 3, it's Atkins, Statham, and Daniels. And Statham, Lee Christmas, he's got the best charisma. Him and Barney have the best scenes together, just their camaraderie, because they've been together the longest. And his fight scenes, it's just fun to watch him work. I remember when I saw him in the Transporter for the first time, and I had seen him in the previous movies, and I'm like, this is the same guy, and he did the one with Jet Li. You remember that movie? But he didn't really do the things that he's been doing for the last years. And like Steven said, he's the knife guy. Like all these guys, like he uses guns too, but like it's just exciting to watch him work, and he just. His fight scenes, he gets the best fight scenes, I think. Like in the second one where he's dressed up like the priest, and it's like he's
Man and Knife.
Man and Knife. Yep. And like I said, and in number 3, he's got the best scene where he's running through all the guys and everything. And but it's not even just the action, like I said. It's like he's got the best charisma. He's got the best camaraderie with everybody, and he's just fun to watch, and he's fun to listen to, And like what Steven was saying, it's like when he was missing in the second one and the third one, I'm like, when's Jason Statham coming back? I'm like, coming back, please? It's like it's Statham.
Yeah. Now, nearly done, but final thing is, has anybody heard of the Expendables Go to Hell comic, which has been on Indiegogo, where the guys all get killed and they end up like fighting monsters and shit in hell? And I was like, I can't wait for that to come out.
I posted about that when it first was announced, and I haven't seen anything about it. There's nothing. I know James got blow up over here. He's just like, what? It's like,
I think it was about to happen just before COVID. But it is going to happen. Like J-Man, if you go to the site to my site and type in Expendables Go to Hell, there's an article and there's artwork from it. And like, isn't there like dragons and like shit like that?
Yeah,
it's like
it's like supernatural and shit. And there's like all this kind of weird stuff going on. I was intrigued. I was like,
most sequels go into space, but this one goes into hell. And I was like, you know what? I like that. Fuck up the devil. You have the devil at the end. You have Al Pacino play the devil. There you go.
and they all die. It's like they're expendable, so they all die. It's like
they actually are expendable at last. Yeah. Yeah. So are you looking it up right now, J-Man?
Yes, I am. I got my Jason Goes to Hell poster right there. I'm putting the Expendables Go to Hell right now.
Yeah, damn straight. Yeah, I hope that happens because like it got way over what it needed for on Indiegogo. I remember having a look, so I'm hoping that it does happen because that shit is mine definitely.
Did you put into it?
No.
No, me neither.
I'm going to buy that, but I'm not going to support it because I can't afford it. I don't have money to waste on such things. I wish I did, but no. But also, like I said, it was announced sort of just before COVID started, so there was no money to be wasted on such things. But it looks like I think in fact, this is annoying me. I need to look this up right now. Hold on.
Yeah, it looks good. It's so it's going to be a graphic novel.
Yeah, which
is just that usually just means it's a trade. It'll look like a trade paperback. I'm a comic guy, so graphic novels aren't actually a thing. And what people call graphic novels are not graphic novels. Like Watchmen is not a graphic novel. But this will be a graphic novel, so it's going to be one
story. Yeah, good. That's what I would want. Yeah.
So it's not going to be individuals or whatever. Yeah, it looks crazy. I mean, it's them. Like the art is awesome.
Oh, I mean, I
was a prequel, like I don't want to say graphic novel in case J-Man kills
Comics.
me.
Oh, I will.
He's on the warpath.
There was an Expendables prequel story with images that could be a graphic novel, but could be a comic. But I have it in one collection.
So do I. Yeah.
Nice.
It's pretty cool. It was done by Dynamite. People are selling them for so dear on eBay now, but if you can get a hold of it, I'd recommend it. It's worth the read.
Anything Expendables related, I will buy. So if I see comics or anything, then I'm like, yeah, that's mine. Mine.
Yeah, if I saw an Expendables thong, like I'd buy it and I'd wear it.
I'd wear that to work. I'd be like, this is what I'm wearing to work. I'm not wearing anything else. Fuck you. This is my new uniform for work. So
I'm gonna go.
Does anybody?
I'm going to look up T-shirts as soon as we're done. I'll be like, I need some Expendables T-shirts now.
I need all the Expendables T-shirts. Yeah. Was there anybody we've forgotten to mention that who should be in the fourth one? I think we kind of mentioned it pretty much.
I'm going to think of all of them once we get off the air and go like, damn it.
Of course. We'll remember all the points once we finish. Yeah. But
we forgot to mention Liam Hemsworth.
I actually kind of liked him in it. He was really likable. And like the scene when they kill him off, it's such a shocking scene. And when the way Van Damme kills him by kicking the knife into him,
awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome. I was like, oh, right, you're a good villain then, or bad villain.
What about Christian Slater?
Did you ever see the interview with Van Damme? Oh, Liam Hemsworth, when he said that Van Damme actually kicked him in the chest a couple of times, and when he went, Liam Hemsworth said he clearly just fell because it was Van Damme kicking him in the chest, and Van Damme basically said to him, "Now you're an action star."
But see, I thought that Van Damme came out and said that was bullshit. I thought I heard that the other day. I think Viking Samurai posted a video about it. I need to give it a watch. But I need to find out the ins and outs of it. But I know Van Damme has always sort of made contact quite regularly in fight scenes, just like Seagal does with the stuntmen. Yeah.
So there was that UFC fight that Van Damme hit the fella in the face. Do you remember that? I can't remember.
Yes, remember that? Yeah, it was on stage or something, and he hit the guy in the face.
Yeah.
What are you seeing there, John?
I'm looking at him right now because I got the triple threat poster, but I think Michael Jai White would be good in it too.
Oh,
yes, Michael Jai White for sure. And then if they want to mix it up, bring in his wife Jillian as well, who's awesome.
Have it be like this evil husband and wife duo.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool. Yeah. Have Shane Black direct 4. Maybe do the script and have John McTiernan direct.
Right.
Shane Black directed Iron Man 3 and The Predator, and so yeah.
Predator is one of the worst atrocities ever.
That literally the sound my money made when it went into that to buy that movie.
Yeah. So maybe have him write the script because he was good at writing the old action movie scripts. Because I mean, if you read some of the stuff he wrote for like the original script of The Last Boy Scout and Lethal Weapon 2, they're a lot darker than they were released. I remember in like The Last Boy Scout, there's a scene where like the bad guy like chainsaws up somebody or something, and it was like really fun. Yeah. So it's worth checking out. So we'll keep our eyes out for Expendables 4, and maybe we'll get it. I'm going to be honest. I wish we got Expendables 4 more than Last Blood. I would have preferred that. Yeah. Because Last Blood wasn't needed, but we want the ultra-violent Expendables 4 that Stallone promised us before coming out. When everybody's like, it's going to be like The Raid, and we're like, yeah, there was not a single moment in that movie that was like The Raid. So
decent budget too for the Expendables.
Yeah, and I mean, fuck, I'll fill up the squib packs so we can do squibs. So there's no CG blood, and I want to just look real. And just use real guns.
I think another person who could be in it, and it's fairly obvious, is Gerald Butler.
Yeah, he'd be great. The more Scots in action movies, the better. Hey, me, I'll be in it.
I was saying Christian Slater would have been interesting. Christian
Slater, man.
Yeah.
How can you forget Christian Slater?
I'm looking at my movies. I'm trying to, look at what I know.
I'm like looking around my office. I'm like, who else can I think of?
You want to throw in Billy Blanks and all those guys, and Jalal Merhi and all the B movie fellows. Throw all those guys in there.
Fred Williamson.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The cigar. Yeah. Well, and maybe Richard Roundtree as well. You could maybe even have Samuel L. Jackson, but then probably the role would probably be too similar to Nick Fury because he's like a leader type character. So I don't know.
Or you should put Keanu Reeves in it. Why not? It's
yeah. I mentioned Keanu earlier. Keanu Reeves, Liam Neeson. Okay. Yeah, Liam Neeson for sure as well. Jeff Fahey, I think, is an underrated, cool, badass.
Yeah. Jeff Fahey is cool.
You know who the villain should be? Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa, Shang Tsung from Mortal Kombat, and Shodan Little Tokyo. Yeah.
That guy was the bad guy in every 90s direct-to-video action movie.
Yeah. I have written a Legends of Action article on him. I haven't done Legends of Action in years, and I've written one paying tribute to him, which I'm going to post in the next few days. So there we are. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know about anyone else, but I'm tired, and I want to go drink. So... So while I remember, everybody, please remember to like and subscribe if indeed there's anybody here still watching or whatever else at this time of night, and select notifications so you know next time we go live, which will probably be next week. I like the Hard Rain idea, just in one movie, and then it won't be nearly 2 hours long. Right. So that's a good idea. And remember to like and subscribe to J-Man and Action Flicks and Action Reloaded, and buy Stephen's books. So we'll finish up there, and we will see you all soon. Thanks for watching.